Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and thank you for tuning in to Penguin Live TV. My name is Stephen. I'm going to be your host tonight. I'm going to be showing you the penguins, controlling the cameras, and hopefully answering some of the questions. And joining me tonight, we have the magnificent T.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Penguin Live Craziness. I'll be monitoring all of the questions on YouTube, and hopefully I'll encourage Stephen to answer some of those this evening. If you've got any questions on Facebook, don't panic. Our wonderful rangers doing an excellent job off-site. They will be answering your questions over the next 24 hours. Enjoy the fun. Thank you.
Wonderful, that's right. So if you're asking your questions on YouTube, we'll try and answer those live on air. We might not get to them all. And if we don't answer your questions tonight, put them on the Facebook chat. We have a team of rangers who will be answering those questions. And if you ask a particularly difficult question, they'll have the chance to research it. But if you ask me a difficult question tonight, I might not know the answer. I might have to throw it back to our wonderful team of rangers who do a fantastic job of answering those ones. So thank you for tuning in. It is always a fun night being here on the Penguin Parade, doing the live TV for you all. I want to say a big welcome to all of our new visitors, our first-time visitors who are watching us tonight. I hope you enjoy the show this evening. We're just waiting for our penguins to arrive. And for all of our return viewers, a big welcome back. Many of you come in night after night and watch these penguins coming home with us. It's such a fantastic experience, and we're so happy that we get to share it with you. And as I take this moment and looking out across this beautiful scenery in front of you, this is the Phillip Island Penguin Parade. And we're on the Summerland Peninsula here on Phillip Island. And I want to take this moment to acknowledge the land where we are currently broadcasting from, and acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Bunurong, and pay my respects to their elders, both past, present, and emerging. And maybe leave a comment letting us know who the traditional custodians of the land where you are viewing from tonight. Maybe we have a few others viewing from Bunurong country. Maybe we have a few others viewing from different countries as well. So let us know the traditional custodians in the comments. We find that information absolutely fantastic. As you can see tonight, there is a bit of a dark cloud cover. It's not very, very dark just yet, but it's definitely no longer the sunny skies. It's been an absolutely beautiful day today. A few scattered clouds here and there, but as the evening has rolled on, we've had some scattered showers here and there, and some dark clouds might be looming in behind us. So if we're lucky, we might get an earlier start tonight, which is always fun. Who knows what the penguins are going to do, though? They're keeping an eye on that sky, and they'll be coming home when they're ready. But as we take this moment to scan across here, you can see we've got some people on the stands in the distance over there. And we're here at the Penguin Parade. We're part of the Phillip Island Nature Parks. We are a conservation organization, a not-for-profit conservation organization. So all of the money that these wonderful people have spent on their tickets to come here, all of the profits we make from that are actually going back into protecting our little penguins, back into protecting a few of the other native species we have here on Phillip Island. And we take care of quite a large area of Phillip Island, about 1,800 hectares, and that also includes Churchill Island and the Koala Conservation Reserve, where we have a lot of koalas from the bushfire-affected areas of Victoria from last summer's bushfires. We're hoping to heal them up and get them back into the wild again. And if you wanted to help us out in our efforts, we suggest that you make a donation to our Penguin Foundation. There's a link in the description. And on that link, it'll take you to a website for our charity organization. And the funds that we get from that charity, from those donations, do go to helping our penguins, helping our koalas, helping a lot of conservation efforts we have here on Phillip Island. And it all makes a very, very big difference. Our penguins have grown in numbers over the years. Back in the 1980s, we had about 12,000 little penguins here on Phillip Island, and the numbers were going down year after year after year. The numbers were just dropping. But we started a bit of conservation work back then, started really getting our bums into gear and working to protect these penguins and using the money we made from the sales of tickets into helping our penguins. And now we got over 32,000 penguins here on Phillip Island, which is just fantastic. So the numbers have been growing thanks to our conservation work. And our penguins have been really appreciative and been coming home in large numbers, as you've probably been seeing if you've been watching over the last few weeks. So yeah, if you wanted to help us out, you'd be helping our penguins out as well. All right, I'm going to zoom out onto the ocean and see if I can spot any of those rafts out there. Now, it's a little bit misty out there. Oh, I see a raft in there in the distance. I'll see if I can zoom in on them for you guys. Now, I'm not sure if the zoom is going to work. The camera always struggles to focus when it's this misty. Right now, it's just a misty haze. Come on, camera, you can do it. I believe in you. It's thinking about it. Oh, you can see a little dark patch out there. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in anymore. I'll keep trying. Come on, camera. Oh, it's thinking about it. It's really struggling. All right, that's not working so well, but you can see a little dark patch in the water up there, right in the middle of the screen, below that pyramid-shaped rock and a little to the right. And a raft of penguins is what we call a group of penguins out in the ocean. They form up into this large, big black raft you can see out there, gathering together because they want to cross this beach with the safety of numbers. Now, our penguins are pretty special. They're called the little penguins. They're the only blue species of penguins, or penguins with blue feathers on their back in the world. And being that they're the smallest penguins in the world, they're also the only penguins who come home after sunset only. Now, there's other species of penguins in the world. They'll come out day or night. It doesn't matter to them. But our penguins, they must wait until the sun has set, and they can cross the beach in the safety of darkness. And they're also relying on safety in numbers as well. That will help them keep together and cross this beach safely. Because if there is a late night predator around, a big bird of prey that might be looking for a late night snack, they'll have a bunch of other friends around them, and it's much more intimidating for a big bird of prey to attack a large group of penguins, of maybe 100 penguins in one group, than it is to go for a solitary penguin. All right, so our rangers down on the beach said they've started hearing the penguins making a bit of a hucking noise out on the ocean. So that's exciting. It means the penguins are getting closer to the water's edge. That hucking noise is the sound they make when they're getting ready to come in. I can see a raft here just in front. Now that hucking noise is penguin talk for, come on guys, follow me, stick together. And they make that as they're getting close to the water's edge. You can see a few heads just sticking out there. So that hucking sound would sound like a huck, 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 huck. And they'd all be making that noise, which basically helps them to find each other because you can see them getting washed over by that wave. They'd lose sight of each other really easily if they're getting pummeled around by these waves. But that sound travels really well on the ocean. So they keep in contact by shouting out to each other. And they'll all be staying together in this tightly knit raft. And once it gets darker and darker, maybe a few more penguins join them. Oh, we got buffeted by another wave, which is pretty fun to watch. But as soon as it gets dark enough that they feel safe, they're going to swim to the water's edge. And they'll maybe pause on the edge of the water, have a look around, make sure no predators are around. And if they're feeling safe, they might start crossing the beach. Last night, we had a couple of Pacific gulls who were swimming around in the water and maybe heckling our penguins just a little bit. They are technically a predator of little penguins, though they do prefer the chicks to the adult penguins. So we don't know if there's any Pacific gulls tonight, but we'll keep an eye out just in case. I've zoomed out a little too much there. Try not to get our members of the public in the shot. They don't want to be on Penguin Live TV tonight. All right, it's just our penguins who are the stars of the show this evening. You can see they've washed up to the shore. A lot of them are standing up, looking around. A few of them have gone back into the surf. Our penguins are much safer in the water than they are on land. As you all have probably seen penguins at some point in your life, you know that when they waddle on land, they are slow, they are awkward, they trip over their own feet, they fall down a lot when they're on land. They are not very agile when they're walking. But when it comes to the ocean, that's where these guys thrive. That's where they're very fast, they're very agile, and they're very well camouflaged. So our penguins are hanging around this water's edge. They've got the safety of the ocean just behind them. The only time they're going to leave the safety of the water's edge is when they're getting ready to come home, which is just fantastic. Alrighty, we'll have to see what these penguins are doing, keeping an eye on them, seeing when they're going to start crossing this beach, which is pretty exciting stuff. Now, tonight we have two rangers counting our penguins. We count our penguins every single night. We've been counting our penguins since 1968. So this is the largest data set we have of little penguins anywhere in the world. It's a very long-running count that we have going. And we do this count to monitor the average numbers they have over the seasons. We got a shell gritter in that top right corner. Might be going to the beach. They left the burrow early, getting down to the beach early in the night. We'll see if we spot them keep going on their journey back to the beach. Now, they're not going into the water to go swimming. They're going down to the beach to eat some shell grit in the sand. That's a female with an egg. It's traveling. It's in that top right screen just above me up there. It's gone around the corner. But yeah, they're looking to replenish some of the calcium they've lost in creating their eggs. So yeah, we'll see her probably going back to the sandy shores here before they come up and come back up to their burrows. They might join one of these groups later on in the evening and go back on their journey home. So that female should be laying her egg in the next few days, definitely within the next few days. She might lay her egg tonight, maybe tomorrow night, but her egg is coming soon. So she doesn't want to wander too far away from her burrow for too long. She wants to stay close to home because she wants that egg to have the best chance at surviving and hatching. All right, this lovely little group of penguins is just pausing on the rocks here. You can see they're not 100% confident just yet. They've been hanging around the water's edge. A few of them are starting to creep up to the rocks, looking behind them, wondering if any of their friends are going to join them. Few of them, let's get you into focus. Few of them have gone back into the water. Sometimes when one goes back in the water, the others will follow, but sometimes if they're feeling really confident, they'll keep going on their journey home. I love watching these guys on the rocks. They do slip and slide a little bit. These rocks are very slippery. The tide is going out, so these are freshly wet rocks. And we'll see if our penguins can keep their balance as they stumble and trip their way across the beach. Luckily for our little penguins, they have a very low center of gravity, so their balance is pretty good. And if they do happen to fall, they don't have far to fall at all. It's very rare that a penguin will get injured just by waddling across the beach. Fantastic. We do have a gentleman that's standing up there on Penguins Plus stand. It's given a hard time to try and see him over his head on the cameras. We might get our rangers down on Penguins Plus to ask him to sit down. That way we'll have an equal chance of viewing the penguins. Oh, look at these guys just stumbling their way across. I wonder if there's any groups out on the water, because this is a very small group to start the night. And I'm sure there'll be a larger group following up not too far behind. Well, don't see any just yet. So these guys might be our first group of penguins to cross the beach. There we go. We'll just focus on these guys. If any other groups do show up, we'll make sure we zoom out to them later on. All right, so I'd ask you to count how many penguins are in the first group, but that's a pretty easy feat. I'm pretty sure you could do it. There's a couple of stragglers over there on the left that you should include into that first group count, but I won't have to ask the penguin counter tonight how many are in this first group. That's an easy one. Oh, there's one more just getting buffeted over the rocks in the background there, washed up by the wave. People often wonder, do our penguins get injured by big crashing waves? And well, it can happen, especially on a really stormy night. On a night like tonight, it would be incredibly rare. Our penguins are excellent swimmers. They're quite sturdy little penguins. And they usually don't get too injured, even if they do get smashed onto the rocks by those big waves. But it does happen from time to time. We occasionally get penguins who come onto the beach and they've rolled their ankles, they've got a sprained ankle, sometimes a broken foot. And that's why we have our wildlife clinic where we take care of any injured penguins. All right, these guys have definitely started crossing the beach. I haven't heard Sue call out a start time just yet. She might be having a hard time spotting these penguins, just because their dark feathers on the dark rocks are very difficult to spot. There we go. Sue did spot these penguins. We have a start time at 8:11, which is a wonderful start time, a minute later than last night. So these penguins are pretty consistent right now. I'm going to zoom out and see if we can spot any penguins getting ready to follow this first group up. One penguin in the back over there. Not seeing any more on the beach just yet, but that's okay. They'll be coming, don't worry. It's still fairly bright outside, so our penguins are just taking their time getting ready to come home. All right, now have these penguins come over the rocks here. There we go. We got one. Oh, no, that's just a shell there. I thought that was a penguin. I think that's just a cuttlefish bone. They do tend to get washed up on the shores around here. Very common to see. I do love the cuttlefish. It's a fantastic creature. It's in the squid family, a lot like a squid. If they get scared, they make an ink cloud like a squid, and they can change their colors to match their surroundings. Very ingenious little animal. Great survival techniques. And for any bird owners at home who like to give their birds a bit of calcium to scrape their beaks on, you might find cuttlefish bones being sold in stores for birds. Really good for their health. Oh, we got Linda down there in the bottom left corner. I'm not sure if she wants to be on Penguin Live TV tonight. But I've lost track of the penguins. There's a few over to the left. I'm not sure what's happened to these penguins behind the bushes here. Haven't seen where they've gone. They've disappeared on us. Well, the penguins are playing hide and seek tonight. We'll see if we can find some other penguins. Oh, a nice little group just out there in the rocks. We can focus on these guys while we wait. So we're definitely trying to get these cameras to focus, and love these little guys just braving the elements right now. It's starting to rain a little bit. It's definitely getting darker, so we'll see what our penguins are going to do. We're still waiting for our first big group of the night. We just had a small group crossing the beach. No big groups just yet. And I am sure we're going to see a big group because I saw that raft earlier on. If you were tuning in since the beginning of the night, you probably saw that massive raft out in the distance. Was a way off. It's going to take them a while to swim to the shore. We should be getting good numbers again tonight. Last night, we had a total of 2,159 penguins, which is a pretty good night. Any number of penguins over 2,000 is a really good night for penguin numbers. Very rarely do we get nights over 3,000 penguins, but we've been seeing a few of those over the last few weeks. So we've been absolutely spoilt for penguin numbers. And if we're still doing this Penguin Live TV up into the winter months, you might be looking at maybe 300 penguins in a single night. Not many penguins at all. Right now, we're currently getting a single group of penguins coming out that's 300 or 400 in size. So it's absolutely fantastic. You guys have chosen the right time of year to start following us for Penguin Live TV. Zoom in on these guys. Oh, come on, camera. I know you can focus. There we go. They're definitely struggling to move too quickly over these rocks. They're not too fussed about moving quickly at all. It's not the safest place for our penguins to be, out in the middle of the beach. There's no real cover for them to hide under. But our penguins are very well camouflaged on these rocks. Those dark feathers make them very hard to see from above. They're keeping a fairly low profile. We are lucky because we're fairly close to the ground. We can see their white bellies on the background. And here's a nice group just washing up behind them. Let's see how many are in this. Alrighty. Now it might give you a guess on how many penguins are in this group right here. You're going to have to combine these two groups because I think they're going to form into one big group and cross the beach in the safety of numbers. They like to join up with other parties. Oh, the camera's really struggling to focus on these penguins tonight, so we'll see what we can do to fix that for you. All right, still not the biggest group I've ever seen here on Penguins Plus, but a much better second group than the first group. For those of you who are wondering how many were in the first group, I'm sure you counted them. There were 7 penguins in that first group that crossed the beach. We might see a few more in this group. I'll keep the camera stable for all of you viewers at home. See if you can count the penguins. Do we have any questions from our viewers, T?
We do have a question, Stephen. Ashley would like to know, how high can penguins jump?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure how high a penguin can jump in centimeters, but I do know that our penguins do jump fairly well. They need to hop over these rocks. I'm sure you're seeing a few little penguins jumping and skipping over these rocks. Do you know the answer to that, T? How high do penguins jump?
They can jump up to half their body height. I like to call them the Tigger of the penguin world.
Little Tiggers of Penguin World. I love that. So they can jump up to half their body height, which is pretty good, especially considering that when you look at a penguin, they don't really have functional knees. If you were to try and jump with just your ankles, do you think you could jump half your body height? Not a chance. We use our knees to jump, but penguins, their knees are a bit interesting. Their knees are located inside of their body and are completely fused together. So they have no use of knees. So when you consider a penguin can jump half its height, that's all with its ankles. Very impressive. Wonderful. So yes, we do love watching our penguins jumping around. When they get to the top of the hill here at the Penguin Parade, we have a concrete pathway that they like to jump down onto before they get up to the bushes at the top. And they have to jump down this little curb on the side of their little dirt pathway onto the concrete pathway. They could choose to follow a dirt pathway all the way to the top, but they prefer the smoothed, hardened surface of the asphalt that we have. And it's fun watching them slipping and sliding off that curb, but we do see them jumping up, and that curb is roughly almost half their height. So we see it fairly consistently. That's not a jump that would be too hard for a penguin to make. Here we go, scrambling over the rocks. Wonderful. Now I just heard that our penguin counters tonight are Sue, who has been doing the live streams as a producer role for the last week now. And we also have Sky, who is counting on the far stand with our penguins, which is just fantastic. So a lot of familiar faces here at the Penguin Parade, working different positions. It's always fun to be in different parts, doing different roles here. It keeps our job exciting, keeps us learning, keeps us doing new things. All right, these penguins are definitely scrambling over these rocks. They're not in a hurry tonight, but it's hard to be in a hurry with such rugged terrain. Slow and steady is the way to get home safely. Now, it is very dark right now, so I wouldn't be too worried about any late night predators. All those birds of prey have gone to sleep for the night. Our penguins would definitely be safe at this late at night. And all those birds of prey are not nocturnal. They are only awake during the daytime, so our penguins don't have any native nocturnal predators here on Phillip Island. There we go. Got a couple of penguins here. Let's see if we can focus in on them. Looks like there's one shellgritter who might be going the wrong direction. I'm not sure where they came from, but they look like they're going against the flow of other penguins on their journey to the beach. Get some of that lovely shell grit in the sand, and these penguins are jumping into our very shallow pool, thinking about trying to swim. They haven't realized that it's not. Oh, It might be a little swimming. There we go. It's still deep enough in the middle. Their feet might be touching the bottom of the water there, though. Lovely. And they're just going around past our viewers' heads off into the colony. I won't try and follow them too much. We'll follow these guys up here. We got our other pathway where our penguins love to wander up. Difficult to see in the grass, but it does lead past a couple of burrows where we have some baby penguins, or at least there have been baby penguins. Let's see if I can spot any of those babies. We got a couple of penguins standing right here. Are these the babies? Let's have a look. Come on, camera. Oh, I see some brownness on the front of that penguin. I'm not sure if that's the baby feathers, but these guys have a couple of scarves. The one on the top looks like he has a bit of a mohawk. And the one below him looks like he's got a scarf around his neck of baby feathers. So I got a couple of older babies right there, nearly ready to go to the ocean. Not just yet. Give them a little bit of time and they'll be ready to go. And over here, we've got our lovely burrow right here. These chicks look a little bit younger. See if a camera will focus. You can see the dark brown feathers on the back of this penguin. They're fluffy feathers. They look a little bit different than the blue feathers, the silky blue feathers that you might see closer up. I'll see if I can zoom in any more. It's a bit tricky to get the camera to focus in the poor lighting we have right now, but we'll see if it works. Oh, it's almost focused. Not quite. Come on, camera, you can do it. Try moving the position. The problem with automatic focus, doesn't always work exactly how you want it to. All right, that camera is completely out of focus. There we go, that's a little bit better. So we've been estimating these penguins are roughly 5.5 weeks old, give or take. We never know the exact date of birth unless we're out with the researchers and see the eggs hatch. But yeah, these guys are roughly 5.5 weeks old with how many baby feathers they have. And they're waiting for mom or dad to come home. Right now, it looks like they're home alone. They're old enough for mom and dad to leave them at home alone for the first time. For the time being. And these guys will get more food with both mom and dad going out into the colony. With mom and dad both going out into the ocean and bringing food home to the colony for them. Let's look at the penguin highway. We got some penguins out here waddling up that highway. That's a nice big group coming home. Looks like some more numbers are starting to come home across the beach, which is good news. You can see them on their journey home.
So Stephen, I've got a question from Madison. What's the biggest threat or predators that penguins have to worry about on the island?
Ooh, the biggest threat for our penguins on the island. Well, if we're talking about predators, we do have some feral cats on the island, which can predate upon our penguins. They are not native to Australia, the feral cats. Those are basically house cats that have been let loose into the wild. And house cats are very picky eaters. They don't use all of a penguin when they do kill a penguin. They might actually kill up to 6 penguins in a night, just choosing the choicest meats before being full. So feral cats can be a major problem. But otherwise, there's not too many native species on the island that do predate upon adult penguins, unless they're silly enough to go out into the open in the daytime. Or adult penguins are usually sensible enough to keep hidden and safe in their burrows. And they're not going to be faced with too many threats in their burrows from native species. But we do have some birds of prey that will go after chicks or eggs that have been abandoned or left alone that are unable to defend themselves. A very normal part of nature, all part of the food chains. That was an excellent question. All right, let's sweep back to the beach. I want to see if we can find any more penguins. Oh, look at that. Nice big group. That is a massive group right there. Wow. All right, they really came in all at once, didn't they? You can see a lot of them preening their feathers, doing that typical penguin behavior, shaking their heads, getting the salt out of their eyes, rubbing their beaks across their chest. You can see they're just rubbing their beak across their chest, They get oil all over that beak to make sure that their feathers are waterproof for the swims out on the ocean. I love to call these the resting rocks here. Penguins have been hard at work out in the ocean all day long. Some of them have been out there for days upon days upon days. And they're coming home and they're having a quick rest before they begin a very long hike back to their burrows. Stopping off at the pub after a long day of work is what I like to say. And some of them, ooh, a bit of a trip there. Still some precarious terrain around here. Some of them are more eager to get going than others. They see that body of water and they're like, oh, I can swim across that, but they're not very good at checking for the depth. Don't think any of our penguins are going to be using our diving board tonight. I hope they look before they leap because they'll definitely hit the bottom of the floor if they jump off that high diving board. When you're going to be a sensible penguin, you're going to go around and just jump into the water. Another large group walking across Penguin Highway. Fantastic. So these guys are going on a journey home. A lot of them have babies in the colony, a lot of chicks in the colony, still a few eggs in the colony as well. And we've had such an early start to the breeding season this year that we're expecting a second wave of eggs and chicks to happen. We never know for sure if this is going to happen, so we have to keep our researchers out in the field and keeping an eye on the penguins, making sure that they are in fact having a second attempt at the eggs this year. Got a couple of mothers just above me in that top right screen. Expectant mothers. There are two females with eggs, a bit of a mother's group going down to the beach to satisfy those pregnancy cravings. They're going down to eat some sand. As I said, they're shell gritters. They eat the shell grit in the sand, but really they are eating sand, which is very high in calcium, tiny pieces of shell, very high in calcium. Because they're out developing those eggs inside their bodies, they're losing a lot of calcium within their own bodies to develop those eggshells to make them nice and hard when they lay them. So they have to replenish the calcium by eating the shell grit. Wonderful. Let's see, get our groups back here again. Fantastic viewing of our penguins. Do we have any more questions, T?
I do have a question from Samuel, who's 11. Do sharks attack penguins?
Oh, excellent question, Samuel, who's 11, is wondering if sharks will attack penguins. And our little penguins are a bit too small for a shark to bother with. Now, it's not to say it's never happened. It might have happened in passing, but sharks do not actively hunt our little penguins. Our penguins are very, very fast little birds. They can swim so fast, but they're so small that it's just not worth the effort. It would be like one of us trying to run down a cheetah on foot just in order to get a chicken nugget for dinner. It's just too much effort, they're too fast, and you just don't get enough as a result. So the big great white sharks, they'll go after the seals, and some species of seals do eat little penguins because they're roughly the right size for them. But luckily for our penguins, they're pretty safe from seals around here because the only species of seal we have here on Phillip Island is the Australian fur seal, and they do not eat little penguins. So our penguins are pretty well protected here. The seals are mostly eaten by the sharks, and the sharks are too busy chasing big fat seals to worry about little penguins. Wonderful question. Thanks, Samuel. All right. Any more questions, Steve?
Oh, I've got one really good question for you, Stephen. Do any of the rangers get pooed on by penguins?
Oh, penguin poo, that's always an excellent topic of discussion. I love talking about penguin poo because it's just so much to talk about. It's a bit of an underrated topic. Most people don't think about it too much when they see these penguins. Nobody really asks questions about penguin poo, but there's so much to learn from it, and it's so fantastic. But yes, penguins have definitely pooed on rangers. I myself have been pooed on many, many, many times. And penguin poo, little penguin poo is fascinating because our little penguins have the most hydraulic force behind their poo of any animal in the animal kingdom. They can shoot their poo over the length of their body. So they can shoot their poo really, really far away. And the reason penguins do that is because if they're at home on their burrows in the daytime, they shouldn't be going outside because there are predators around. So they can't go outside to do their business, and they're not going to do inside of their home because that's messy, that's smelly, that's very unpleasant. So what are our penguins going to do when they have to go to the bathroom? Well, they are going to, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on a burrow here. Oh, I was moving a bit fast. Sorry about that. Not that burrow. That's the wrong one. Our penguins are going to wiggle their bums up to the entrance of their own burrow and stick their bums outside and shoot their poo as far away as they can. And it goes a long distance. Well, my personal story, first encounter of penguin poo was back when I was a brand new ranger here and I was out with our researchers into the field. We were going into the penguin colony to weigh the penguins, give them health checks, make sure they were doing very well. Also looking for any chicks in the colony because we like to know if our penguins are breeding or not. And so when we're out in the colony, there's sometimes two penguins in a burrow. And if there's two penguins in the burrow, the researcher will hand me one of the penguins so they can weigh the other one. They'll weigh it, pop it back into the burrow, and I'll pass them the penguin for the second one. And when that happened, I was holding the penguin and I was facing it right towards myself. Its bum was facing right towards my body, and I didn't know that fact about penguins and their poo, and it just covered me. It was very unhappy with the way I was holding it. It let me know its displeasure by making sure that I was covered in a very, very smelly liquid. So yeah, I learned from that lesson that definitely should not hold penguins in that direction. Always hold them off to the side, so if they do have to let loose, it'll go off into the bushes, not over my knight's vest. So yes, there have definitely been rangers who have been pooed upon, myself included. Now, whenever I go onto the field and there's a new ranger with me, I'll try and aim the penguin towards the new ranger and try and teach them that valuable lesson. All right, so we are going to be wrapping up the stream in the next few minutes. Hopefully you've been able to see lots of penguins. If you have any last minute questions, we ask you to put them in the comments or put them on the Facebook comments. Our rangers will be answering them over the next 24 hours. And if we didn't get to your question on YouTube, feel free to pop over to our Facebook stream. You can put your question in even after the stream is ended, and our rangers will try and answer them for you. But before we do go, I want to invite you to click that link below if you want to help us out with our conservation efforts of protecting these penguins, protecting our bushfire koalas that we're taking care of, helping out in a variety of different ways. You can symbolically adopt one of our penguins. You can become a penguin pal. There's lots of different ways you can help us to protect our little penguins. And all of the money we do get does go back into conservation work. It might go into a little bit of research as well. Sometimes it goes into a bit of educational activities, which is just fantastic. We've got this lovely group of penguins right here, getting ready to go on their journey home. It's just so fun to watch these guys going home night after night. Usually there's so many different things happening here in the penguin colony that we're spoiled for choice of what we want to watch. Got another lovely group just waddling their way home. A couple of penguins on the right side of the screen here on the Penguin Highway. We'll see if they're going to join them or if they got a different way home. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It's been fantastic watching with you. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a great night.
Thank you.